Imagine waking up in the place where everything you see, hear, and believe is curated by the state. Not just the news you read or the movies you watch, but the very idea of who you are. Where the sound of morning doesn't come from birds chirping or alarm clocks, but from loudspeakers installed outside your window, blaring songs glorifying your leader. Where every smile is a performance, where every step, every glance, every whisper must be measured, because someone might be watching, someone might be listening. Welcome to North Korea. Officially the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, but unofficially, it's the last functioning Orwellian state on Earth. A nation cloaked in mystery, wrapped in propaganda, and frozen in time. To most outsiders, North Korea is an enigma, a modern-day monarchy run by a dynasty of supreme leaders, a nation that tests nuclear weapons while its people queue for rice, a place of military parades and mass games, where thousands dance in synchronized unity while dissenters rot in hidden prison camps. But for all that secrecy, North Korea is also a place of humanity. Children go to school, parents go to work, families gather for meals, lovers walk by the river. There is joy as much as the system allows.
There is sorrow, far more than the system admits. There are people living complex lives behind the heavy curtain of dictatorship. In this documentary, we won't just talk about the headlines. We're not here to repeat what you already know. The nuclear threats, the eerie footage of parades, the bizarre stories about leaders who claim to never use the bathroom. We're going deeper. We'll uncover what daily life is like for a North Korean citizen, the rhythms of routine under dictatorship, the quiet resistance through whispers and black market thumb drives, the terrifying price of escape, and the flickers of hope, even in a place designed to extinguish it. We'll talk to defectors who risked everything to flee and examine how the outside world sees North Korea as a joke, a threat, and sometimes, disturbingly, a fascination. So, what is life really like in the most isolated country in the world? What does it feel like to be born with no freedom of speech, no freedom of thought, no access to the world beyond the border? And most importantly, can a regime so tightly controlled survive the slow trickle of outside truth? Whether you're here out of curiosity, empathy, or sheer disbelief, welcome. You're about to step inside a country where reality is manufactured and where the greatest act of rebellion. Imagine never being alone. Not really. Not truly. Even in the silence of your own home, there's a lingering feeling that someone is listening, watching, waiting.
This is life in North Korea, where surveillance is not just a policy, it's a culture. From the moment a North Korean child can speak, they are taught the rules of survival: obey, observe, report. At school, they memorize the deeds of the Kim family and recite patriotic hymns. But more than that, they learn who to trust and who not to. That list is always changing. In many countries, surveillance is digital. In North Korea, it's deeply human. The government has embedded a network of informants into every neighborhood, every apartment block, every factory floor. These aren't just secret police. They're your classmates, co-workers, even relatives. There's a phrase that's often repeated by defectors: even the walls have ears. Imagine this. You're at home talking with your spouse about something you heard. A rumor that South Koreans live well, or that a local factory had a fire the government didn't report. You whisper, careful not to say names. You never criticize openly. But your child is in the next room. And in school tomorrow, the teacher might ask the class, "What did your parents say at dinner last night?" That child, not understanding the stakes, repeats your words, and suddenly, you disappear. Disappearances in North Korea are often unannounced. Neighbors notice that someone didn't come to work. An apartment stands dark.
No funeral, no goodbye. Sometimes entire families vanish overnight. What happens next? That's one of the regime's darkest secrets. Most likely, a political prison camp. Known as Kwanliso, these camps are remote, heavily guarded, and terrifying. Amnesty International and satellite imagery have confirmed their existence. Survivors describe them as hell on earth: starvation, forced labor, torture.
The crime? Saying the wrong thing, knowing the wrong person, or simply being born to the wrong parents. This kind of omnipresent fear doesn't just enforce obedience, it builds a society where truth is not only dangerous, it becomes irrelevant. Over time, people forget what they believe. They believe what they say, because that's safer. Many North Koreans eventually internalize the surveillance. They regulate themselves, thinking twice before speaking, hesitating before reacting. Even emotions become political. Cry too little during a public mourning? You're suspicious. Cry too much? Maybe you're faking it. One defector shared this chilling memory. My friend's father was arrested because he didn't cry hard enough at Kim Jong-il's funeral. He had a stomach ailment, but the neighbors reported him anyway. This is the power of surveillance in North Korea. It doesn't just monitor actions, it polices feelings. And yet, even in this world of watchers, there are cracks. Some people take tiny risks: a whispered joke, a glance at a banned film, a conversation with a stranger. These cracks are dangerous, but they are also the beginning of change. In the next section, we'll explore what a day in the life of an average North Korean looks like. Not the version you see in state videos, but the real, hard, hidden life behind the red curtain. Coming up, daily life, work, food, and propaganda. A day in North Korea begins with sound, not of birdsong or city traffic, but with patriotic hymns blasted from loudspeakers on every street corner. These state-controlled speakers, active since 5 a.m., wake citizens with songs of loyalty to the supreme leader, followed by announcements about the accomplishments of the Workers' Party and instructions for the day. It's not an alarm clock that pulls you from sleep. It's the voice of the state. From here, the day begins. For a factory worker in a rural province, the routine is simple but brutal. You dress in uniform, regardless of your trade. There is little room for self-expression. Colors are drab, styles are standardized, and any foreign fashion is banned. You were expected to be presentable not for yourself, but for the honor of the nation. Children attend school 6 days a week. Their curriculum is a mix of standard subjects, math, science, and Korean, and intense ideological training. They study the lives of Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un in great detail. Every essay, every project revolves around the glorification of the leaders. In classrooms, portraits of the Kims watch silently from the walls, and students bow before them each morning. Even art classes are not an escape. Students draw rockets, tanks, and flags. A young girl once told a defector, "We don't draw animals or flowers. We draw what makes the leader proud." Adults head to their assigned workplaces. Jobs are assigned by the state, based on family background, songbun, loyalty, and geographic location. A man born into a politically unreliable family may spend his entire life in a coal mine, even if he dreams of becoming a teacher. There are no resumes, no job interviews, no promotions in the capitalist sense. The government decides what you do, where you live, and what you eat.
Speaking of food, it is perhaps the most constant source of stress. Most North Koreans do not buy food like in the West. The majority rely on the Public Distribution System, PDS, a state-run rationing network that provides basic staples like rice, corn, and occasionally oil or beans. However, the PDS is unreliable. In times of economic strain or political tension, rations shrink or vanish completely. People supplement their diets with kitchen gardens, small patches of land where they grow cabbage, potatoes, or radishes. In the countryside, wild plants, grass, and even tree bark are foraged when hunger sets in. During the 1990s famine, known as the Arduous March, millions died of starvation. The scars remain. Families today often rotate meals: porridge in the morning, rice with kimchi at night, or a single boiled potato shared among several children. Yet, even in this poverty, propaganda thrives. Every television, pre-installed with government-approved programming, runs 24/7. There are dramas, documentaries, and variety shows, all designed to reinforce the message: North Korea is paradise, the outside world is corrupt, and the supreme leader is your parent, your protector, your God. One show features citizens thanking Kim Jong-un for curing their illnesses, though the hospitals shown are staged. Another depicts a South Korean soldier defecting in tears, complete fiction. Many North Koreans accept these stories as fact because that's all they've ever known. Public spaces are saturated with messages. Banners line the streets proclaiming loyalty to the party, statues of the Kims are visited with reverence, and every home must display portraits of the leaders, cleaned daily with a special cloth. If a portrait is damaged, even accidentally, the punishment can be severe. Radio broadcasts are state-controlled and can't be turned off. They continue day and night, offering updates on party achievements, scolding enemies abroad, and celebrating even the most minor domestic success. It's a soundscape designed to drown out doubt. Workplaces hold regular criticism sessions. Once a week, each worker must confess a failing, however small, and pledge to do better. These sessions are mandatory. Not participating can mark you as disloyal. A defector named So-yeon recalled, "I once forgot to bow to my supervisor. At the meeting, I was forced to stand and cry. Others said I was becoming arrogant. I didn't believe it, but I agreed. That's what you do to survive." Marriage and dating are also regulated. Romantic choices are often influenced by one's sungbun. A person of low status marrying someone of high status can jeopardize the latter's career. Love, as in many parts of North Korean life, must submit to political calculation. Even leisure is orchestrated. Parks are filled with loudspeakers. Film theaters play only government-approved movies, often war films, historical epics, or stories glorifying the leadership. Sports are allowed, but the best athletes are siphoned off early and trained to represent the regime. Most others play soccer on gravel lots or swim in polluted rivers. And any success, athletic or artistic, is immediately claimed by the state. In this tightly controlled environment, some North Koreans find moments of joy: a child's laughter, a shared meal, a quiet moment under the stars. But these are fragile and precious. The illusion, Pyongyang versus the real North Korea. If you were to visit North Korea on a government-approved tour, you'd land in Pyongyang, a city that gleams under the sun, with clean, wide boulevards, massive monuments, and carefully manicured parks. You'd see well-dressed citizens walking in formation, cycling in neat lanes, and children practicing synchronized dances in the public squares.
To the untrained eye, Pyongyang might appear prosperous, even idyllic. But what you're seeing is not the real North Korea. Pyongyang is a movie set, a highly controlled, artificial display curated for foreign eyes. It is the regime's showroom, the city where illusion becomes policy. Only about 10% of North Korea's population lives in Pyongyang, and those who do must earn the privilege. Residency is not a birthright, it's a reward. You are vetted not just on political loyalty, but also on your family history, class status, and obedience. It's not uncommon for citizens to be expelled from the capital for minor infractions. A worker who drinks too much or a child who skips ideological study sessions could cause an entire family to be relocated to the countryside, or worse. So who stays? The elite.
party members, military families, trusted artists and athletes. These people enjoy better housing, more reliable electricity, and access to imported goods, albeit carefully restricted. Foreign shampoo, better clothing, even small luxuries like chocolate or coffee can be found in Pyongyang's black market and state-run department stores. The city's infrastructure is also carefully maintained. Streets are constantly cleaned. Lawns are trimmed. Construction is ongoing not just for functionality, but for appearance. When foreign journalists or diplomats visit, their hotel windows are sometimes sealed shut, not just for security, but to control what they see and photograph. Even traffic is a performance. You might notice uniformed women directing cars at empty intersections, a theatrical display of order. What you don't see is that outside Pyongyang, many cities have no paved roads at all. The buses, trams, and metro stations shown in videos are often empty or filled with hand-picked citizens trained to act cheerful. Smiles are rehearsed. Conversations are monitored. One visitor recalled asking a student what her favorite music was. She paused, looked at the guide for approval, then answered, "The songs about the general."
Behind the city's impressive facades are hollow buildings, facades built only on the front with empty structures behind. At night, whole neighborhoods go dark as power is cut to conserve energy. Compare this to rural North Korea, where many homes still use firewood for heating and electricity is sporadic at best. Medical clinics lack basic supplies. In some provinces, the only light after sunset comes from candles or the moon. A satellite photo of the Korean peninsula at night reveals a haunting truth. While South Korea blazes with light, North Korea, except for a tiny glow around Pyongyang, is nearly invisible. There's also the matter of food. Pyongyang's residents have access to better markets and food supplies. Imported goods flow in, sometimes legally, often not. But outside the city, hunger is an everyday reality. Farmers toil on state-run collectives, growing crops they don't own, earning rations instead of wages. During times of flood, drought, or economic sanctions, these regions are the first to suffer. Medical care is another stark contrast. In Pyongyang's showcase hospitals, foreign visitors are shown clean, modern wards, often with shiny new equipment. But in reality, these facilities are often for show. Real care is inconsistent, and in rural hospitals, it's common to find empty medicine cabinets, broken X-ray machines, and doctors using saltwater drips or sewing needles sterilized with fire. Then there's education. In Pyongyang, schools are equipped with better resources. Students have uniforms, printed textbooks, access to musical instruments and language labs, all part of the illusion. But beyond the capital, many schools operate without heat, running water, or even chairs. Children bring their own firewood in winter and sometimes study in freezing conditions, bundled in coats. Still, Pyongyang is more than just a false front. For the elite who live there, it feels real. It offers opportunity, albeit within rigid constraints. You can study science, pursue music, become a journalist or filmmaker. But every career, every ambition must serve the state. Filmmakers, for instance, are state employees. Their films are not art, they are tools of propaganda. A love story will also be a lesson in loyalty. A war movie will glorify the leader. Creativity is permitted as long as it supports the narrative. And even in Pyongyang, fear is real. People know that one wrong word can erase decades of privilege. A friend's betrayal, a mistaken gesture, or a foreign magazine left on a table, any of these can lead to re-education, imprisonment, or banishment. One defector described Pyongyang this way: "It was a golden cage, beautiful, shiny, but I couldn't breathe."
Pyongyang is the regime's mirror. It reflects not what North Korea is, but what it wants the world to believe. And behind that mirror is a country struggling to survive, a country where the lights flicker, the rice runs out, and the truth is a dangerous idea. In the next chapter, we'll peel back another layer and visit the hidden heartbeat of North Korea's economy, the underground black markets, where forbidden films and whispered dreams slip through cracks in the regime's control. The black market, a hidden lifeline. Behind the Iron Curtain of North Korea's strict controls and propaganda lies a secret world, a shadow economy known as the black market, or Jangmadang. This underground network operates in defiance of the government's official policies. It's where food, electronics, foreign films, and even banned books change hands. It's a world built on trust, risk, and the desperate hope for a better life. For many North Koreans, the black market is the only way to survive. It began to grow in the 1990s during the famine, when the public distribution system faltered and millions faced starvation. With state rations cut or non-existent, ordinary people had to find alternative ways to feed their families. At first, small markets emerged outside factories, then expanded into villages and cities. Despite the government's attempts to shut them down, the markets thrived, adapting to new risks and opportunities. Merchants trade in a wide range of goods: vegetables, meat, cooking oil, used clothing, batteries, and even solar panels. Some traders smuggle USB drives filled with foreign films, music, and news from China or South Korea. These devices become precious lifelines, exposing North Koreans to outside culture and ideas.
The black market also offers a glimpse of economic freedom. Prices fluctuate based on supply and demand, and people negotiate with each other rather than obeying fixed state prices. But participating in the black market is risky. The regime views these activities as illegal and counter-revolutionary. Crackdowns, arrests, and confiscations are common. However, many local officials turn a blind eye or even profit from the trade. Women often dominate the market stalls. They arrive early, set up makeshift booths, and bargain fiercely. For some, it's the only way to contribute financially to their households. One defector said, "In the markets, I saw people laughing, shouting, living like they do in the outside world. For a moment, it felt like freedom. But I also knew it could disappear in a second if the soldiers came." The black market is not just about goods. It's about information. Smuggled DVDs of South Korean dramas and Western movies challenge the regime's narrative. Foreign news broadcasts, secretly tuned in on makeshift radios, spread stories of the world beyond the border. These glimpses spark curiosity, hope, and sometimes rebellion. Yet, the black market's growth also creates inequality. Those with connections or capital can prosper, while the poorest remain trapped in hardship. Despite these contradictions, Jangmadang remains a vital, if dangerous, outlet for many North Koreans. In the next section, we'll hear first-hand stories of those who risked everything to escape this tightly controlled society. Escape stories: breaking free from the hermit kingdom. Escaping North Korea is perhaps the most dangerous and daring act imaginable. For those who choose to flee, the journey is not just a physical escape, it's a profound leap into uncertainty, sacrifice, and often heartbreak. Defectors face a maze of obstacles from the very first step. The border between North Korea and China, its longest and most porous frontier, is patrolled relentlessly by guards, dogs, and surveillance drones. Crossing it without being caught is a feat of stealth, timing, and luck. Once across, the challenges multiply. China does not recognize North Koreans as refugees. Instead, it labels them illegal economic migrants. If caught,
Defectors risk deportation back to North Korea, where the consequences can be brutal: imprisonment, torture, or even execution.
The psychological toll is immense. Leaving behind family, sometimes forever, living with constant fear of capture and enduring extreme physical hardship define this odyssey. Yet, despite the dangers, thousands have succeeded. Their stories revealed incredible resilience, hope, and a hunger for freedom that defies the regime's iron grip. One defector, Ji-hun, recalls, "I crossed the frozen river in winter, my feet numb, heart pounding. Every sound made me freeze, but I thought about my little sister. If I didn't try, she would never have a chance." Others speak of the emotional agony of leaving loved ones behind, sometimes forever. Some manage to send messages or money back, but most remain cut off from everything they know. Escape is only the beginning. Once safe, defectors face the challenge of adapting to a world so different it can be overwhelming. New languages, cultures, freedoms, and sometimes prejudice. In the next section, we'll dive into life after escape, the triumphs, struggles, and the heavy shadows left behind. Life after escape, freedom's complex price. Freedom. For many North Korean defectors, it's a word that carries immense weight, a dream fulfilled, yet also a complicated reality. Crossing the border into South Korea or another country does not mean life suddenly becomes easy. Instead, defectors face a complex mixture of relief, culture shock, and the lingering shadows of trauma. South Korea offers generous resettlement programs, housing, education, medical care, and even financial support. Yet, integration is a long, difficult road. Language is often a barrier, despite both countries speaking Korean. Decades of isolation mean that many defectors' dialects, vocabulary, and cultural references differ vastly from those of South Koreans. Simple things like slang, technology terms, or even pop culture can feel alien. Psychological scars run deep. Many defectors carry memories of torture, starvation, loss, and fear. Post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety are common. Support groups and counseling are available but can be stigmatized or inaccessible to some. Social acceptance is another hurdle. Despite shared ethnicity, defectors sometimes face discrimination or misunderstanding in South Korea. Stereotypes paint them as backward or uneducated. Some struggle with low self-esteem or find it hard to form friendships. Employment is challenging too. Many defectors have limited formal education or skills applicable in a modern economy. They often take low-wage manual jobs to survive while pursuing education or vocational training. Family separation remains a painful reality. Many left loved ones behind, parents, siblings, even children. Reunification is rare and often politically fraught. Some maintain contact through secret messages, but most remain cut off from everything they know. Yet, amidst these hardships, stories of triumph abound. Some defectors become activists, advocating for human rights and awareness. Others pursue education, art, or careers they never imagined possible. One defector, Min Jun, shared, "Freedom is more than leaving. It's learning who you are without fear." The journey from isolation to integration is slow, full of setbacks, but also moments of hope.